This podcast is brought to you by Extreme Media.
Extreme Media?
Just press play.
9,000 drones form Cinderella's castle in the sky in Abu Dhabi. Infocom Orlando is only 2 weeks away. Google's latest attempt on smart glasses, and Dublin Tech Week is around the corner. It's time for episode 115 of the All Things TechIE Podcast.
Here's the show that loves to talk about gadgets and gizmos, from A-Logic to Yamaha, cameras to control panels. You get what I mean. We love talking all things techie. In fact, that's the name of the show. And here is your host, Justin Dawson.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to episode 115 of All Things TechIE Podcast. I'm Justin Dawson, and if you'd like to get in contact with the show, all the details are on your screen. If you're watching on the show on YouTube, we're also available on your social media platforms, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and more. That and all 114 episodes of the All Things Techie Podcast are available on our official website, www.allthingstech.ie. It's an incredible looking Dubai-based company, Lumina Sky, set a record-breaking drone light show to celebrate the opening of Disneyland Abu Dhabi, using 9,000 custom-engineered drones to create stunning aerial visuals, including a detailed recreation of Cinderella's castle. The show was crafted in collaboration with Disney's 3D artists and choreographers, combining LED lights capable of over 4 billion colour combinations and possibly pyro drones synchronized with fireworks. This marks the largest drone show ever in the Arabian Gulf, with drones operating with a centimetre level precision using advanced GPS and RTK technology. The performance highlights Abu Dhabi's rising status in entertainment tech, aligning with its broader plan for 10,000 drone light show, a collaboration between local and international partners, including Nova Sky Stories and Analog. Disneyland Abu Dhabi will be the 7th Disney resort globally and the first in the Middle East. Now, coming up in the programme, we're only a few weeks away from Dublin Tech Summit and, more interesting, the inaugural launch of Dublin Tech Week. I've been speaking with the organisers and what to look forward to, and this is coming up later in the show. Google is taking on Meta's Ray-Ban glasses, announcing new partnerships at Google I/O 2025 with Gentle Monster and Warby Parker to create smart glasses based on Android XR. Google launched its Android XR platform with Qualcomm and Samsung last year. While it didn't talk about the specific devices back then, the latest announcement indicates the company wants to build a multiple iterations of glasses and headsets with different partners. On Tuesday, the company also said it would expand its partnership with Samsung to XR glasses. It added that both companies are developing a software and hardware reference platform for developers to build solutions on. Samsung, Qualcomm and Google announced a mixed reality project in 2023. Samsung subsequently unveiled a headset, Project Muhan, in late 2024. It's set to debut later this year, Google says. At I/O, Google also showed off concept glasses based on the Android XR platform, augmented by its Gemini AI. The glasses have a camera, a microphone and speakers, just like Ray-Ban Meta glasses, but they also have the optional display to view notifications affixed to the lens of the glasses. Google demoed several different use cases, such as messaging, turn-by-turn navigation, scheduling appointments, live language translations, and taking photos. The search giant said it is seeding units to select testers to gather feedback. Delta Airlines can pursue much of its lawsuit seeking to hold cybersecurity company CrowdStrike for a massive computer outage last July that caused the carrier to cancel 7,000 flights, a Georgia state judge ruled. In a decision on Friday, Judge Kelly Lee Labre from the Fulton County Superior Court said Delta can try to prove CrowdStrike was grossly negligent in pushing a defective update of its Falcon software to customers, crashing more than 8 million Microsoft Windows-based computers worldwide. In a statement on Monday, CrowdStrike's lawyer Michael Karlinski said he was confident that the judge will find Delta's case has no merit or will limit damages to the single-digit millions of dollars under Georgia law. TikTok will now show teenagers guided meditation sessions if they are scrolling past 10 p.m. It's part of the company's attempt to mitigate some of the mental health problems associated with social media. as big tech faces increased pressure to prioritise young people. Now, if teenagers use TikTok after 10 p.m, their feed will be interrupted by a meditation exercise aimed at promoting better sleep. If they choose to ignore the prompt, TikTok will later show a second full-screen prompt that is harder to dismiss. It will also be available to adults using the short video app, but will only be switched on by default for under 18s. When testing the feature, 98% of teenagers kept the meditation experience switched on, according to TikTok. The company also announced an initiative to give an advertising space to mental health charities on the app. There are growing calls for companies like TikTok to better protect their young users. Now, I can't believe this time 2 weeks I'll be flying out to Infocom 2025 in Orlando. Infocom 2025 is happening this June 7th through 13th, with main exhibits running from June the 11th to the 13th. It's all taking place in the Orange County Convention Center in sunny Orlando, Florida. Produced by Avixa, Infocom is widely recognized as the major trade show in the US pro-AV industry. And it is not just a niche market. Professional AV industry is a thriving world representing $325 billion globally and expected to add nearly $100 billion in revenues over the next 5 years. Digital signage alone represented $41.4 billion of the pro-AV revenue globally in 2024 and is forecast to grow by 5.7% through 2029. Infocom plays a crucial role in facilitating this impressive growth by providing a fast-paced and dynamic environment together AV solution providers to buyers and conduct business. One of the absolute major highlights this year is the significant spotlight on digital signage, and Infocom 2025 is truly staking its claim as the digital signage show this June. The trade show floor will feature more than 200 digital signage solution providers, including major recognizable names like LG, Panasonic and Sony. You'll see the very latest display technology, cutting-edge content and management systems, and advancements in cloud technology. Another absolute must-attend event, particularly if you're interested in how technology is pushing boundaries, is the panel discussion titled Experience Economy, How Technology is Shaping the Next Generation of Immersive Experiences. Scheduled for Wednesday, June the 11th at 11 a.m. in the Valencia Ballroom, this session brings together leaders who are truly at the pinnacle of the convergence of immersive experiences and technology. You'll hear from David Lai, the Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer at Universal Destinations and Experiences, who has led award-winning IT initiatives and currently oversees digital experiences across the North America and Asia. Joining him is Jeff Zabel, a global industry specialist for AWS or Amazon Web Services, an entrepreneur with a background in engineering who has contributed to technologies like CarPlay and Android Auto. The discussion will be moderated by Todd Hugland, Senior Director of Design and Development at Ripley Entertainment, who brings over 35 years of experience to the global theme park and attractions industry. They will share insights from theme park, media and entertainment and gaming worlds on how technology is creating cutting-edge immersive entertainment. This panel is free to attend with any Infocom registration, offering a fantastic look into why creating immersive experiences is more important than ever if you want to leave an impression on your audience. But where will I be? Well, on day 1 and 2 of my trip is exploring Orlando. I've never been to Florida, so I'm going to have some time to explore. Then after that is the weekend and straight into the booth build with HETMA. Monday and Tuesday is the HETMA Higher Education Summit, where I will be speaking as part of the panel as well. So if you're attending Infocom, make sure you buy a ticket for that. On Monday night is the Higher Ed AV Awards, to which I'm delighted and honoured to be inducted into the 2025 Higher Ed AV Hall of Fame. It came as a shock when I heard this news, and I'm really looking forward to the night and trying to keep my acceptance speech short and not do a Father Ted moment on it.
Well, well, well. I see some familiar faces here today. Some welcome, some not so welcome. It looks as if I've had the last laugh, and a lot of people who really didn't think I had it in me to become a brilliant priest.
Well, what I say to those people is, look at me now.
Tuesday is more of the Higher Ed AV Summit, and then straight into viewing some of the show floor and helping out on the HETMA booth. I will also be catching up with Nareva, who have some really nice new products to be unveiled, so stay tuned for that. And many thanks to Nareva for sponsoring All Things TechIE Podcast at Infocom this year. Sponsorship opportunities are still available, so please get in touch if you are interested in sponsoring the podcast. And the details are below on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube. And all the information is also available on our website, www.allthingstech.ie. Now, closer to home, the Dublin Tech Summit is just around the corner. In fact, next week and also tomorrow is the start of Dublin Tech Week. Running from the 23rd to 30th of May, it's the first of its kind initiative that will unite the capital's top innovators, global tech leaders, creative educators, and the wider community through a dynamic mix of over 30 events spanning everything from AI and cybersecurity to blockchain, smart cities, fintech, and beyond. But it's more than just a calendar of events. Dublin Tech Week is a movement, one of underscores the city's position to be as a bold, collaborative and forward-looking global tech hub. I caught up with Claire Kilmartin from the organising team and Ross Curley from Dublin City Council to tell us more. I'll start with you, Claire. Where did this all come about? Where did Dublin Tech Week all come about?
Yeah, so I'm the operations director of Dublin Tech Summit, which has been running now for 7 years and takes place in the RDS on the 28th and 29th of May this year. And just over the past few years, when I've been organising the Tech Summit, I just noticed that there's quite a lot of side events happening in and around us on the days that we take place, but also the preceding and following days around the summit, but that there was no collective or cohesive cooperation between the different people organising things, really, or else, I suppose, from a visitor or attendee point of view, there's no catalogue of what was going on. So you wouldn't actually, you could plan your time at the Tech Summit, but you might not know about all these other things that were happening in the city that week. And so I reached out to a lot of the groups that I know were organising things and just asked them would they like to try and come together a bit better, really, and work together and promote each other and promote the city as a kind of a tech hub and a destination for international attendees, and have a big catalogue of activity and events running across that week. So we kind of only launched it in December, really. So it was all a bit of a rush just before Christmas. And we're delighted now. I think there's nearly 45 different events and activities taking place starting on Friday this week, so from the 23rd to the 30th of May. And there's an amazing number of stakeholders and the city come together to put everything on. So it's really exciting.
Well, you did mention stakeholders there, so that's a good way to introduce Ross. Ross, you're involved with Dublin City Council and event planning, so you've got on board with Dublin Tech Week. When Claire approached you on this idea, how what did you think? Did you think that yes, this is a runner, or did you think, oh my God, what work would be involved in this?
And look, I think when anyone gets in touch with us, there's always that initial what's coming. But no, a really positive engagement from the get-go. Look, obviously Claire and the team are putting on a very strong event there annually. But, you know, what's happening in the tech sector across Dublin is just monumental and at every level. So, you know, the more I suppose we had one meeting and another meeting, and it just started to really, I suppose, flow. We thought we might have a couple of events, you know, throughout the week and just maybe expand out the programming. But, you know, every time I've checked in on this, we've gone from kind of 10 to 15 to 20, 25, 30, there's 40, I think, late last week and up at 45 now. So, you know, just amazing traction. And it just shows the goodwill and I guess the engagement from the whole ecosystem just to really get on board with this.
All the events are not just happening in the city centre. You're spread out all across North and South Dublin doing different events. One that I have to tune in on and is the fact that like you're doing every diversity. You're doing young, you're doing old, you're doing women in tech as well, Claire.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the big goals with the Tech Week really was Tech is such a big everyday part of everybody's lives. It's not just for people working directly in the tech sector. And so something that Dublin Tech Week wanted to achieve and all the different stakeholders was highlighting that crossover between community and tech, and also importantly, I suppose, nurturing the love for STEM amongst our students, and like children up to college students and beyond, because they're all going to be the future business owners and founders in the years to come. And so it was really to kind of get that cross collaboration going, and then also to nurture collaboration between different areas of the tech sector, because with all the rapid changes now, I suppose, with AI and everything else, there is a huge crossover between different areas within the tech sector as a whole. You're not just in cybersecurity, you're not just in another area. Everything needs to collaborate now, and at a massive speed, I think, as well, to try and keep up with everything that's going on. So it was really to bring about that networking across the week, for people to showcase the work that they're doing, make new connections, and show it to the community and get the community involved as well.
Well, you did mention there, Claire, like it's not just tech, and the fact is that like you have young and old, as mentioned, women in tech, but Ross, you also have As We Feel How It Moves. This is an art exhibition that's going on with technology in the city.
Yeah, so this is probably one of the more interesting ones as I look through. Now, they're all very interesting, obviously, but this is, I suppose, bringing it's not something you'd probably expect during Dublin during Tech Week, for example. But yeah, up in New Lane Gallery on the Thursday. So look, it's All We Feel Is How It Moves, and I think I won't give too much away, because I think you really have to get along there and get yourself a ticket and figure it out. But it explores themes of motion and transformation across a city, and I suppose cities being such living and unique and dynamic spaces, using the technology and the sensors and the cameras and everything that we have access to really track that. So it's looking at fragments of the city, its structures, signals, flows, then kind of abstracted into sound and image to create a pretty unique event. So again, shifts, textures, the evolution, light, shade, etc. How the composition changes of the city throughout the day, throughout the busy commuting times, right down to the stillness of the evening and early dawn and things like that. So again, as I said, shaped by live data and our video feeds, etc. So again, unfolding and really reflecting a moment in time across the city. So, but again, just I think it's going to be really interesting, and really looking forward to that one.
Whether you, Ross, you do that as a time lapse or you do it with the amount of, as you mentioned, light, visual, sounds, like Dublin City Council have done so many different things, even on your winter shows, where like I used to work down at Spencer Dock many moons ago, and just used to love how the Samuel Beckett Bridge is now a light up display, and with all the different financial districts that's in that area, the amount of different things that you can put on from that end right up to Custom House Quay, but as well, like that type of feeling, it's mixed with the whole idea of sensory, great for anyone that's on the spectrum, neurodiversity as well. Everyone can get involved in that. And then, Ross, to a more younger group, you're doing sort of, I would nearly call this a technology scavenger hunt. Build your own smart city.
Yeah, so that's the connective detective. So again, you mentioned, I suppose, the change and the pace of change, and a lot of what we're probably doing, and I suppose particularly these community events that we're programming as part of Dublin Tech Week, are around demystifying and around maybe showcasing how things work, and why we're using certain technologies and how we're applying it in certain ways. So again, this is a family-friendly event, and intergenerational questions do arise, and tech is moving so fast, and parents perhaps might have some concerns around how technology is maybe impacting their children's lives, etc., and maybe how it can assist between various ways. So again, this is really about connecting people really with the technology, showing how it all works, looking at how Wi-Fi is enabling so much, showing how young people can engage with technology, how they do engage, maybe parts of their life that they didn't realize were technology driven, AI driven, etc. So it's about information, this one, and in a kind of a fun, interactive way. And again, what I would say about that is it's very much linked to our Smart Docklands and our Academy of the Near Future initiative. So again, collaboration is key, as it is across this week, but even with projects like this, and this is a co-funded project with Trinity College and the Connect Research Centre. So, a big thank you to them as well, who they get involved. And I think our universities are great in Dublin, such a strong ecosystem there as well. And, the local authority really getting stuck in and working collaboratively to say, how can we bring, showcase your research, our capacity, our reach, etc., and come up with kind of cool, interesting events like this, for all the family, which is, I think, important as well.
Well, that's it. And the most important thing that we have to say to our listeners and viewers is the fact that you have a mixture, Claire, between free events, some that are heavily subsidized, some that might cost like a bit of money, but like you have such a mix between lock picking right up to, as we mentioned with Tog, building your own satellite dishes. So like there's a mix all across the board. What I have to ask you both, what is the one that you're really looking forward to during the week?
I'm really looking forward to the Hugh Lane one, and obviously the Tech Summit myself. I'll be up to my neck in. But of the other events, I'm really looking forward to Hugh Lane. I think just from having talked to people in the art space and everything like that, and I think there's been a fear around technology and intellectual property and loads of those things, and I think events like that are really important for kind of opening up those debates as the society evolves and navigates our way through these kind of questions. I think it's really important for us to look at where tech and culture and art collide, and give that an opportunity to have its time. So looking forward to that one. And then like you said, there's a great range of events there. So I think we're kind of overwhelmed, I suppose, by how many people have gotten involved, put things on. I don't think we were all expecting to have gotten that many things happening this week. So excited for what can happen next year.
But it's such a tourist, not only just for people in Dublin, it's a tourist attraction that you can have these events. And I'm like, already I can see that some of the events are completely sold out because of the interest. Maybe this is going to grow legs, and it will have to be longer than 1 week. But Ross, for yourself, what are you looking forward to? I know the logistics of planning it all and being one of the main stakeholders, but what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, and look, what I would say about the planning is we put this out there and people really got on board, as Claire mentioned, and you can see that by the level of events, but also how tailored they are, how adaptable they are, and people going out of their way to make these things happen at a time that's accessible for families in many cases, and maybe those on different shifts, etc. So look, I think that's one thing to note. But from I suppose obviously the all we feel is how it moves. It looks really interesting, and I am looking forward to that. But again, I'd always come back to the kind of demystifying piece, which I think is really important. And we're working with the Arts Office as well, the Dublin City Arts Office for Art, Tech and the City. So I think that's another really interesting event that's going to look at, I suppose, how we use technology to visualize our cities, how cities of the future, to look how, what changes, what impact changes might have. So, you've got things like digital twins, which now enable us to, the example I was given recently was, we go into review a planning document, it's 2D, it's in the office, you can go into civic buildings, but, now we're looking at digital twins where we can almost plot what changes will look like, what new buildings will look like in an area, how the streetscape will change, how the lighting, etc. will change. So real interesting stuff happening there about cities of the future, how we're using technology, with a VR headset, how you can visualize perspective changes. And I think what's really, the long-term goal here, and what's really interesting is how we start integrating all these pieces. When you look at there's another Smart Cities Urban Quest that's happening, and that's a guided tour showing how technology is alive in the city. For instance, we have sensors on the life buoys, small piece of technology, but
But it's these types of things that we never notice or never would know until someone tells us these type of things.
yeah, so like that's a walking tour, and it's looking at gully sensors around river sensors around tidal flows, etc. So it just, all this information feeding in can just give us so much, I suppose, forewarning if there's anything, let's say, in times of weather warnings, etc. But also just, basic health and safety, and just ensuring that the city is safe, and our waterways, etc. So look, that's just one example, and the Lifebuoys one has been really successful. And again, so look, loads to choose from, 45 events, really hard to put your finger on one, but I think those two are of certainly of note. And I think the Urban Quest is something I think you can take on your own as well, just via your smartphone. But for the week that's in it, we'll be putting on a guided tour just to do a bit of a Q&A around the whole implementation of this technology.
And the fact is, there's events in the evening and throughout the day. I see that this is going to grow legs, even though you'd say first year, 45 events already across the city. We have to talk to our rivals that would be like, of course, we are the capital, but they like to call themselves the People's Republic. Do you see other areas of Ireland wanting to do a tech week like this? I know the Dublin Tech Summit has always been Dublin. Now we have Dublin Tech Week. But do you see that other city councils will want to move across Ireland and go, we can do something like this?
Well, look, I'll preface this answer with the fact I'm a proud Cork man. So, look,
right. I put my foot in that one. Now, thank you to Claire and Ross for taking the time to speak with us. Now, you may have heard Tog.ie have got involved with the Dublin Tech Week. And earlier, I caught up with Jeffrey Rowe to tell us more about Tog.
I'm an engineer. I've been working in industry now for about 15 years. My day job, I primarily build kind of public transport systems. So bike sharing, port operations, software for railway companies, that sort of stuff. And I do a bit of teaching also in Minute University. But I guess what a kind of real passion of mine is kind of making things, and that's where Tog came from. So Tog is a community hackerspace based in Dublin. It's been going now 16 years.
Wow.
So we've been we're getting on there, and so we're a space for people to be a bit creative, so they can come together, follow their kind of passions, what their interests are, and have that kind of physical place where they can share tools, equipment, and community, and get to kind of follow their creative passions.
Because I came from a background where my dad was an electrician for over 50 years, and I like looking at your website and some of the different workshops you've done, and still do it, like from the basics of learn to solder right up to creating mini little satellite dishes. Like it's some. Do you need to have the experience? Is where I'm going on that question.
So no, we have approximately 100 members. They have all sorts of various backgrounds. So we have obviously engineers like myself. We have designers. We have artists who are members. We have educators. We have school teachers. We have retired people. We have people obviously who work in the kind of technology field and not. So the range of members is quite diverse in terms of their skills and backgrounds, and there's no kind of gatekeeping about getting involved or being a member or anything like that. Is anyone with any sorts of skills, once they have kind of a creative passion, and they can come along to any of our kind of workshops and kind of get involved.
I see you're linked up with, or you have some type of partnership with the Irish Men's Shed Association. Now, on that basis, how does the Men's Shed get a partnership work, and is Tog open to women as well?
Yeah, so we're a member of the Irish Men's Sheds Association. So and we're kind of, I guess, a member of a few different organizations, and it was primarily around of the kind of activities that association strives for in terms of addressing the kind of mental health crisis, and that's why we were very much interested in joining that. We aren't a gendered space like a typical men's shed, I guess. We allow people of any gender to come along, and we're not focused purely on a kind of an age demographic either. So it allows us to have many benefits for being part of their organization, is that we get to network and collaborate with a lot of men's sheds around the country. We bring a lot of kind of digital fabrication skills, kind of other sorts of skills that typical wouldn't happen in a men's shed. And we get to bring those sorts of activities. And it's great having visitors from other men's sheds come along to our space, see what, maybe they might get a 3D printer for their men's shed, or maybe they will get inspired by us, by the amount of kind of science communication and educational programs that we run, that they then might take that and do something in their community.
Yeah, because a lot of people would see the men's shed as very much a craft built woodwork, maybe a bit of metal work. You're adding an extra layer of the engineering and the tech on board on top of the men's sheds idea. Now, where is TOG based? Like, what location are you in Dublin?
So we rent the premises on the Clonmore Road. So
Okay.
we've been there for about 3.5 years. So it's approximately, I think, 300 square meters or so of space over 2 floors. So so we're in a kind of back of a industrial estate there on the Clonmore Road, and we've plenty of space for kind of different activities, and can we have a kind of workshop and various items kind of set up there.
And you know, that really means a lot to me. I think I did read that on the website, because I'm originally a Kimmage native, so and that's where my dad's electrical shop was in Kimmage on Sundrive Road many moons ago. So I wish I knew about TOG when I was 10 years ago, when I was living over in Sundrive, and of course then ended up over the north side of Dublin after I married and had kids. But reading on it, it just goes to show that, like, I would actually travel out from the north side to visit this and to take part of it. Now, what type? How is it funded? Like, is the membership fees to people that want to be involved in TOG?
Yeah, so we're funded primarily through a membership fee. So as I said earlier, we've about 100 members. They can pay between 20 and 55 euro a month. It's up to them to decide the appropriate amount. So the average payment at the moment is about 43 euro. So it really depends on individual circumstances. But they're the primary people who kind of fund the space. We have no employees or anything like that. But we also have kind of quite an extensive range of kind of open nights where we just get the general public in. So to come along to like an open night, so like our Monday electronics night, or like our lockpicking on a Thursday, that members of the public don't have to pay anything. They can come for as long as they want. If they want to kind of use some of the kind of the more kind of tools that require kind of specialized insurance and stuff like that, then they do have to be a member. Or if they want 24-hour access, like some of our members do, then they of course have to become a member.
Well, and go into detail a bit more on that. Like 24-hour access, you would have people working on a certain project. They might want to come after hours, after work, and keep going. Is that how it works?
Oh, of course, yeah. I assume that there's someone in there right now. Friday nights are quite popular for people to work away on their projects. You have to remember, these people kind of have a burning passion to create different things, and they have a wide range of interests. So you'll have people in there working kind of in the evenings, weekends. They'll be building furniture. They'll be working on a kind of little electronic gadget. They might be crocheting up a new jumper or something like that, or in brewing some beer or something. So it's quite an eclectic mix of different interests that the members have. And that 24-hour access kind of, it allows them to work it around their schedule. So if they find time some Sunday evening, they can come in and finish up that welding project that they've been putting off for so long.
So what type of, that leads me to the question of, you've mentioned a lot of different scenarios there, between lock picking right up to welding. What type of equipment would you have in the actual building?
So it's subdivided into kind of many different rooms and areas. So to start off, we have our workshop. So in there you'll find different types of welders. Some use gas and some don't. I'm not a welder, so I don't know the exact differences between them, but there's different types. I am told. Then you have stuff like a CNC machine for cutting aluminium and different metal parts. You have pillar drills. You have power tools. You have all those sorts of wood turning lathe. You have a metal lathe. You have laser cutters, CNC machines. You have plenty different types of sewing machines, overlockers, various different items for kind of different craft projects, and then the extensive list of kind of electronics equipment. So like your oscilloscopes, your function generators, your power supplies, your soldering equipment, your various parts and components. And they're just kind of some of the activities that our members are interested in. And that's before I start going on about the radio equipment people use to communicate with satellites and around the world.
Oh,
And
that's
kind
it.
of
Like,
IT equipment.
back in my teens, I was an amateur radio type of junkie. I did my days of pirate radio, why I do podcasting now, and that's really how I fell into the world of tech. So it's beautiful to hear that you still have the ends of the old-fashioned amateur radio, building your kits. In fact, I think that's something what you're going to be doing next week with Dublin Tech Week is amateur radio as well. So lead me into that. How did Todd get involved with Dublin Tech Week? And of course, what started off with the Dublin Technology show, which has now become a week. How did Todd link in with all this?
So I guess it comes down to me primarily because I like to run events. That's one of the things that I really like to do. So I run a festival called Dublin Maker. It's a science a festival that takes place once a year over 2 days. It gets about 12,000 visitors.
Wow.
So I was in with Dublin City Council talking to them about the forthcoming Dublin Maker Festival that'll happen in August. And they go, well, we're trying this new initiative, that we've been approached to try and support called Dublin Tech Week. TOG already takes part in like Science Week, Engineers Week, all those kind of national weeks. Really kind of use it to focus our kind of outreach goals and projects. And then when Dublin City Council mentioned, well, we have a new week that you might be interested in getting involved in, and I work in the tech industry, so Dublin Tech Week really kind of sound like it would fit quite well. So then I thought, what sort of activities might we like to do? So I thought a mix of kind of free-form evenings like that we had planned, and then a few kind of workshops as well to kind of go with it.
So one of them, as you mentioned already, lock picking. Interesting category of subject. Like where did all that come about? Is it ethical? Is it legal? Are we allowed to teach people how to pick locks?
Oh, of course you are. Yeah. So we've been doing lockpicking was one of the first events that we've ever had in TOG, and all those many years ago. So I was at lockpicking last night, and there was 16 people in to learn, and lots of new people who had never tried it before. So people come along, it's this kind of, it's a different type of puzzle. Some people do jigsaws, some people do, crosswords. Lockpicks are just another type of puzzle that you have to use your hands and obviously your mind to go with it. So Connor and Isabella lead our kind of lockpicking initiatives in the space. And then so we teach people to come in. We teach them obviously we go over the ethics of lockpicking about you should only pick locks that you've been asked to do it, and try not to do your front door in case you damage it and lock yourself out of your own house. But we go into the kind of how to get started in lockpicking. We teach them. We have lots of love locks that we've taken down, or they're a bit of a blight on the city, and wrecking our lovely Halfpenny Bridge. So we've saved some of them from landfill, and so we use plenty of love locks that we've taken from the bridge, and we use them as practice locks for people to get interested. But we've taken this kind of lockpicking. We do it in our own space. We do it at security conferences, we do it at community outreach events, and it really kind of captures the imagination of there's this puzzle, to figure out to beat the mechanical nature of. Someone has designed something to keep you out. How can you circumnavigate that? How can you understand that maybe it's worth spending a few more euros on your lock to keep your house safe?
And then from one one extreme to a different extreme where you're pretty much building radios and satellite dishes, and that's going to be one of your workshops as well, I believe, on Dublin Tech Week.
Yeah, so that's the workshop that I lead personally. It's about building a satellite ground station. So I was big into tech. I'm going to give a bit of a segue. So I was big into tech. I was always had a mild interest in the world of amateur radio. I never sat down to study. Along came the pandemic.
Pirate radio.
Sorry?
Did you do pirate radio?
So I did some experiments. I'll just say experiments with radio before I got a license. And so during the pandemic, there was these online classes to study for amateur radio license, and that really kind of got me more focused on kind of radio in general. And then what happened was I was looking. Okay, I had got my license, but I knew how much work people have to do to get get a license, and I wanted to find a project that allowed people to experience radio and possibly get the radio bug without necessarily going on and getting a license. So I came up with this workshop where primarily people will build the antenna, learn how radio works, and be able to do lots of activities without having a license. And if they want to get a license, great, and there's avenues to do that. But the workshop is about getting people to build their own antenna, sticking it up outside their house, and communicating with satellites as they pass overhead.
Wow, that a fantastic job. Is the kit expensive? I think I seen your workshop. It's actually not very expensive. I only wish that I had more time to go along at Dublin Tech Week for the actual workshop itself. But I think you're saying about 40 or 50 euro to get this kit.
Yeah, so the parts themselves are about 40 or 50 euro. But as we're a non-profit, unfortunately, we charge you 80 euro to come along to the event. So
and tuition.
All surplus to the parts, I'll go into paying for the running of the space and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So how often would you be able to get this communications with the satellites?
Yeah, so there's 14 satellites in orbit at the moment that are compatible with this setup. You'll get 3 or 4 easy a day. It will work on just like a windowsill like I have here beside me, where you have over here in Crumlin, where you see enough of the sky. Or if you're in an apartment or something, you could cable tie it to a balcony or something. So you'll definitely pick up lots of satellites as they go ahead and overhead. And this network is designed for educational institutions. So what it happens is a university or someone puts up a satellite. They're only in one spot, but they want to be able to talk to the satellite and get kind of this research data back down from the satellite. More often, and they encourage this kind of open source style network called TinyGS, where people like myself or people who come along to the workshop will build a ground station and allow these educational satellites to use this ground station and be able to communicate then with their satellite and get that kind of research data down. And you kind of provide that downlink service as a kind of a citizen science project.
Brilliant. Now, that as you say, even though it sounds very complex, that's the beginner steps. Can you go from that stage and hopefully with the help of TOG to communicating with the likes of the International Space Station? Or would that be...
Yeah, so there's actually a communication project happening in early June where I'm involved and a couple of other radio amateurs are involved in, where we're getting school kids to communicate and have an opportunity to speak with an astronaut for approximately 12 minutes as the space station passes over Dublin. So you can take the skills like that and go on to other opportunities. You can listen in to astronauts talk from the space station. You can go further on and get a license where you'll be able to kind of send communication back and forth. But yeah, communicating with the space station happens quite often. And now in June, we'll have a bunch of school kids over in TU Dublin being able to talk to an astronaut for 15 minutes.
Super. It's absolutely super idea. What are you looking forward to the most? I know you talked about that's your workshop that you'll be doing during Dublin Tech Week, but you have so many different workshops between the lock picking to that. You're going to be busy all week, I guess.
Yeah, I've a full schedule of events, and It's not just about me. Dublin Tech Week, I guess, brings together lots of events across the city. Some other ones, if I was forced not to pick one of my own, would be, and I guess it comes back to my kind of misspent youth and the kind of activities that I used to get up to. Is I'm big into information security, the kind of hacker subculture, what goes into protecting systems and processes. And a great event during Dublin Tech Week is B-Sides Dublin, a community information security event. It's happening on Saturday week, I guess, in Trinity. So it's a day long of talks and activities of people who work in the cybersecurity industry, people who are enthusiastic and want to learn more about the cybersecurity industry. So I'm really looking forward to that event.
There's so much going on. I have to say, I'm hoping to get to a good few of them. What I'm planning to be at as well is an American event called Infocom. I'm not sure, have you heard of it? Over in the States, it's an audiovisual event that happens both on East Coast and West Coast. So this time it's in Florida. I'm flying out on the 4th of June. And then I have events afterwards for higher ed AV as well. So I'm trying not to be away from the family for a whole month of June. That's the way I look at it, or even late May into June. But it sounds brilliant. I love the fact that the Dublin Tech Show has gone into Dublin Tech Week, and I can see this being an annual event because there's so much that can go on across the city of Dublin, and especially with TOG being involved as well. There's plenty to go.
Yeah, I just want to mention just what I've been inspired by is that it's other organizations are starting to involve. I saw there's an event out in Tala Library, for example, someone talking about the technology that goes into running Tala Hospital. What's really kind of enthusiastic is all these kind of grassroots events, and because, you know, Irish society is kind of, and the multinationals that we have working here, we actually have a lot of tech going on that people just don't realize. And what's rewarding is seeing all these other organizations coming forth, taking part of Tech Week, raising the flag up, going, yes, Dublin, look at all the technology, look at all the kind of interesting jobs and opportunities there are here for the next generation.
Between that and we have all the big tech firms, even if they're American tech firms that are based in Ireland, Trump, you're not having them back. I'm going to say that right now. But like it is a tech hub, Ireland, and in our capital, Dublin, so much going on and so much that has to be explored. If people want to find out more, Jeffrey, on TOG, where do they go to and how do they join up?
Best thing to do is go to tog.ie, so tog.ie, and we have various kind of open nights where, as I said, we have our Monday electronics, Tuesday open house, we have lockpicking on Thursdays, we have maker night if you ever wanted to learn how to use a laser cutter, and 3D printing, and then there's brewing events and various workshops. So they're all listed on tog.ie.
So there you have it, plenty to look forward to during Dublin Tech Week, kicking off on May the 23rd around Dublin City, and I hope to make some of the events myself. That's all we have time for in episode 115 of the All Things TechIE Podcast. My thanks to you for listening and viewing the podcast. Please like, subscribe and share. Comment by using any of the social media links below on your screen, whether it is LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram or TikTok. And I shall talk to you soon in episode 116. Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to All Things TechIE Podcast, part of the Extreme Media Network. Follow us on Twitter at AV Tech Junkies. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch our show on YouTube by visiting youtube.com/@Justin_or_Dawson. Previous episodes of our show can be found on our official site, www.allthingstech.ie. For advertising and sponsorship opportunities, please visit www.extrememedia.ie.